Hello, and welcome to the third session of our summer webinar series. We are so excited to have you here today. Today, we will be continuing the conversation on why promoting your brand to Generation Z is vital to your talent acquisition strategy. My name is Hannah Bullard, and I'm the Corporate Partnership Specialist here at Tallo. Joining me today is our very own Ashley Dye. As VP of Data Insights, Ashley oversees all data solutions, analysis, and strategy powering the Tallo platform. Just like the last two sessions, we've only got 20 minutes here. We're going to change it up though a bit, and Ashley will be asking some polling questions throughout her talk today. The poll questions will pop up on your screen, and you will have several seconds to answer the questions. Afterwards, we will discuss the poll results. As always, feel free to add your thoughts and questions into the Q&A so we can make sure we get those answered too and make this as valuable and impactful conversation to help you with your own strategizing and planning. I want to start by welcoming Ashley to the conversation. Ashley began her career journey 15 years ago in the IT staffing industry and then quickly evolved to IT consulting. 6 years ago, Ashley learned her passion for data and took a director position with Equifax Workforce Solutions, supporting analytic products for higher education. She joined Tallo in 2019. What an honor it is to have you with us today, Ashley. Thank you for being here, and I'll go ahead and hand it over to you now.
Great. Thank you so much, Hannah, for that introduction and for everyone joining us today to talk about data. In our short 20 minutes, we're going to cover a couple of things. First, it'll be about what's happened in the marketplace around talent shortage and the war for talent, how that's impacted employers, and some data-driven strategies that employers should be adopting to stay competitive in this market, as well as some resources that are available to y'all if you're interested for your organization or industry. But we're going to start with a polling question before we actually get started. So the polling question is, are you leveraging data in your recruitment strategy today? A few seconds. All right. So it looks like we have almost a 50-50 split, looking at 40, 45, 50 there. So that's pretty impressive. So let me actually go ahead and just share my screen and we will get started. I like to see that we've got folks on the line that love data as much as I do. So first things first, when thinking about leveraging data in recruitment and in general, it's important to understand the trends in the talent market today. So, for many years, folks have been researching and been analyzing our labor markets to identify skills gaps, shortages, demand. And when we look at this research, you can see that growth in the labor force has really been driven entirely by the ages 55 and older for the past 10 years. And in fact, the rest of the labor market actually has been declining over that time span. So this current and sort of forthcoming talent shortage that we're seeing wasn't all caused by the COVID crisis. It's actually been going on for a while, but COVID certainly did accelerate us into a new situation, which is just much more pronounced. So last year, there was the largest retiree labor exit we've seen in 9 years of 3 million baby boomers, which is actually over 1 million higher than average. And this is just the beginning of the uptick in this trend, propelling this generation out of the market. And as for talent actually replacing those that are rapidly retiring, data is telling us that, just based on the fact that baby boomers grew up with a household of 4, they had an average of 2 kids per household, really cutting that population in half. And now that has declined even further to 1.7, really cutting this in half almost twice from a fertility rate. So furthermore, these kids of the baby boomers aren't showing a high decline in labor force participation, which can be attributed to the shift in attitude, not needing to punch the clock, and financial support provided to them from their families. But from an employment point of view, what's really important is the strategy of HR departments that have been using over the last several decades, where you could create a job posting and have a surplus of qualified applicants, is just no longer a reality. It's evident that there's a need to shift the strategies, and identifying talent earlier on in the recruiting funnel is really imperative for employers and workforce initiatives to adopt and mitigate this risk. So if we dive a little bit deeper into some of this impact and the strategy adjustments employers are making, we can see several challenges in addition to, the posting with less applicants. So first, there's a lack of qualified talent that has the experience or skills you need to fill your gaps. And this is actually just attributed to the skinnier market, but the decline of educated workers is also projected to be really extreme. Before this decade is over, the American labor market will face a deficit of 800,000 workers who have associate's degrees or some college, and a colossal shortage of 8.5 million American workers with bachelor degrees or higher, causing this, compounding effect. Next, with more competition, these skilled educated workers can be choosy, and you'll need to be able to set yourself apart from the competition in creative ways. And then finally, higher turnover, just like talent can be choosy, your current employees will be sought after like never before by your competition. So what are the employers starting to do? What are the strategies to get ahead of these challenges and face these challenges today? Thinking about the lack of qualified talent, we're seeing is, on the job training for new employees, entry-level employees, upskilling for current employees, partnering with higher ed programs for specific skills needed. When dealing with more competition, there is, of course, the attraction, right? How do we attract talent? And building a talent pipeline, that's monumental. And employers are getting in front of talent, earlier, finding new ways to support their progression as they discover their career path, and understanding, how can they set themselves apart from their competition. And then finally, higher turnover. So how to deal with higher turnover? Of course, heavy focus on retention. This goes for both new hires and current employees to really understand what's important to them long-term and set up the right resources or environments for things like career advancement, achievement, work-life balance, and adjusting things, like flexible hours. Understanding what will retain employees is also ever-changing depending on the generation and the market. So keeping a pulse on what's important to your future employees you're actually recruiting is just as important as your current employees. And so we see that it's imperative for employers to change their strategies because of this new reality that we're facing with this talent shortage and what's happening with the population. And one of the strategies we know is working and employers should adopt is actually based on this next stat. But we're curious if the group knows this statistic already. So we are going to do another polling question and ask. What percentage of Gen Z do you think are deciding their future employers, who they're interested in high school or early college? 0 to 20%, 20 to 40%, 40 to 60, 80. All right, so we have 20 to 40%. Getting used to the polling mechanism here. Actually, it is 70%. So Tallo has the tap on the Gen Z population. We have over 1.5 million Gen Z talent on our platform that we provide with resources to support them and ask them a lot of questions in understanding this talent. And this is a big deal. This generation is starting to enter the workforce, making their decisions much earlier than most realize. So 70% of Gen Z talent are deciding on their future employers who they're interested in high school or early college. And actually, of that 70%, nearly 50% are deciding that in high school. So understanding and connecting with this talent is very important for several reasons. The first is retention. We talked about retention before, but that new generation plans to stay at their current employer for at least 3 years, which is more than 3 times the average of the previous generation with millennials. And if you aren't engaging early as the talent market thins, you could lose out to your competition and continue to increase your gaps. In fact, they are already thinking about your competitors. This is a quote from a talent user when we asked why they weren't interested. And they're explaining here how they would like this particular employer to invest more in technological R&D, similar to companies like Google and Facebook. And finally, they want to learn now. They're looking to connect, even if there isn't a job available. They want more information, and they're open to on-the-job training to progress their education and career right now. And as our labor force changes, we're here to help you think differently about this, and building relationships with these students or workers is very, very critical. So when we think about, how can you use additional data and really adopt this type of strategy to engage this early talent market? And it's really first understanding the talent, how the talent perceives you, or if they even know about you as an employer. So a lot of times, perception is reality, and only education and information can really support changing that perception. So understanding talent's interest, awareness, and perception of your brand and career opportunities gives employers the ability to close perception gaps. It also allows you to influence the early talent market and support that trajectory of pathways as you build your talent pipeline and hire them, when the time is right. Additionally, we know talent is aware of your competitors. So gaining competitive intel on why talent is interested in your competitors can give you, an edge on your competition, allow for the right messaging, more effective recruitment and response. And this talent is hungry. They're very hungry for information. So they're trying to visualize what a day in the life is like. Are the opportunities that you have, those career opportunities, do they fit my interests and my skills? Is there an opportunity for advancement? What is the culture like? What is the environment like? So learning and gaining this type of data on what targeted information talent is seeking to better understand about employers allows for those effective strategies to really engage this talent to change or increase their interest in your company and really track that type of information. So leveraging data, of course, for effective recruitment is critical, but building your funnel and tracking, talent, their location preferences, how they're migrating, diversity, the types of careers and skills that they have, their time frame to hire where you can take action are just as critical. And really tapping into this early talent market with effective data-driven connection and tracking is how our clients and how we know employers can really stay competitive in the current and increasing talent shortage that we discussed earlier. So we have a couple of resources that can help folks understand Gen Z. These are free report that's actually available. If you're not tapping into the early talent market today, we're really here to help and give you some guidance. If you're interested in this report, it's very comprehensive. It provides information on both employer and industry with 350 plus companies and 22 industries. And we have nearly 30,000 Gen Z that have responded to this. That can give you a starting point in understanding, where you stand also amongst your competitors and how you're perceived in the eyes of Gen Z. So we're leaving a few minutes here for additional questions that anybody might have on the line, but I will hand it over to Hannah to close things off, but thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Ashley. That was so insightful. I took so many notes myself, but we do have a lot of questions here. So we can go ahead and get started. We only have a couple minutes left, but I think we can get through some of these. First, question for me, but I think this is an important one for those who are here representing different companies. What would you say if they're not using data currently to drive early talent decisions? What would be a good first step in order to do something like that?
To drive early talent
So
decisions?
to start using data in their decisions when they're looking at recruiting early talent, is there a way that they can start looking at data in order to kind of start using it to make those decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. I think sort of the first starting point in looking at early talent recruitment is, you know, one, understanding the talent. So, what are they? What is their current pathway? What are they interested in? Are they interested in us? Do they have? Are they even aware of us? You know, is there a potential gap that we have that we can address, and then, specifically identify that target market of talent that, maybe there is a skills gap. For example, it's a particular developers that you're trying to hire for, and it's a particular diverse type population. Really narrowing it down to, what different groups may have different perceptions, and then getting that content to understand how to act and change that perception, and engage them, with the right information.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such good advice when you look at maybe a gap in your recruiting and your early talent development to start there, because data could help maybe, fill that gap. Okay, so another question that we have from somebody attending, and I think this is a great one because you did share that wonderful statistic that's so powerful about 70, I think it was 70% chooses where they want to work very early on. So this person asked, what is a popular Gen Z trend you've seen in your data research?
Um, Popular Gen Z trends. So I think what's really, really different about this population is their one is that they are really engaged with their career, paths early on. And I have been really surprised around how much information that they want to know, and the lack of information that they have. So they do a ton of research, where they're trying to understand these employers, but they just they're and every time we've reached out and engaged this talent, the majority of the talent has a consistent theme of, I would change my mind about this employer if I had more information. Like I would say confidently 90% of those, 95% really, every time we've reached out in some type of engagement, that is the answer, right? So they are so eager to learn and want to be able to, visualize themselves at these employers and, get started, right? So that's been something that's really been impressed me with this generation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one that I speak of when I'm speaking to companies who are taking a look at Tallo is that, they're looking to be outreached on professional websites such as Tallo or LinkedIn and not necessarily their social media. So I feel like they truly know a lot about where they're seeing themselves going and how they want that outreach to be. And being able to share that information really helps companies get ahead on how they're outreaching to this specific demographic.
That's very true. TikTok was one that we asked about, and that was the bottom of the percentage. I don't want to say the wrong percent, it's not in front of me, but that was definitely, I think, the bottom of all the social medias that we asked. That's not a place that they want to be able to engage in this type of information. So very good point, Hannah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I spoke to one person once who said, you don't want your mom on Instagram, it's kind of like the same thing. So I think they know where they want to be outreached in a more professional site. But we are at the 2:21, so we went a minute over. But this has been so wonderful. Thank you, Ashley. We really do appreciate it. Thank you, everyone who has also joined the conversation. We've got contact information on the screen. It will be popped up in a second. If you do have any questions, please make sure to check your email. We are giving 2 attendees an Amazon gift card. Thank you, everyone, truly for joining. We really do appreciate it. We hope you found insight, and we hope you all have a great and wonderful summer.